great film, and obviously a passion project. I mean, I didn't realize that you started that in 2015. So a 7-year process to fruition, but definitely well worth it. My first question to you, and we'll also have the audience ask some questions, is were you a debater? Is that how you got interested in this? No,
No.
no.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the festival and I want to thank the audience for staying. I'm sorry, technical difficulties, but thank you so much for screening this. It's like what the filmmaker wants,
Yes,
to
in the big.
show the work and spark interesting discussions. So I really appreciate that. And the story behind this is just, it's kind of a long one, but I'll try to make it really succinct. I was a feminist from early on, from the time I was in the sandbox. In fact, I met my sandbox buddy 20 years later, and he said, "You know what? I ran home to my mother one day after playing with you and said, 'Mom, what's a male chauvinist pig?'" And
In a
and she just
sandbox.
laughed. She just laughed, So I was always fighting for women's rights and women's rights to speak. I was an athlete and I was always fighting for like positions to play with the boys and but my previous work is first person nonfiction because I always felt that the artist is responsible participant, has power over the subjects, and we should reveal that and we should take responsibility for that. But what is a female voice and how does it resonate in relationship to a male voice, a male white voice, white male voice? And I had the first one I did was about my father, who was a very dominant figure, and my trying to find myself as an artist. And then the next two were sort of a look at Katrina and the diaspora of
Right.
Katrina, but I did it with a very well esteemed filmmaker that had retired for 20 years and came back. And it was a struggle to have my voice be heard where he was holding the camera and I was the person, the front person with the people in the trenches. So I've always been interested in this topic. So I wanted to do something about girls when they sort of either start to when they start to shut down their voice and they start to backpedal about who they are. So I was looking in the middle school space, and I read a couple books for inspiration. I read Elizabeth Warren's book, and I read Sonia Sotomayor's book, and they both
Mm,
mentioned debate as being
right.
key in their lives. And so I thought, maybe debate is the space because this is one of the few sports of the minds that girls and boys compete directly against each other and with each other. There are very
Hmm.
few sports that do that, and this is really about speaking and speaking up. And so I had a very general sense, and then I went for an informational interview with this young whippersnapper who had just become co-captain of her debate team on Newton South, and that was Bella.
Uh-huh.
And she said, "Josh, our coach, said you could come film us." And so it kind of all of a sudden ramped up from 0 to 60, and we were, getting approval from the superintendents and the superintendent and all the parents, and
Right.
it was kind
Right.
of like an opening to a world we did not know. But it was very complicated to figure out how to tell this story with so many characters. So,
Right. Right.
but
And by the way, Lucia, we have a Newton South graduate here in the audience, though from a few
fantastic.
more years in the past. Dan Fowl is sitting
Oh,
here in the audience and went to Newton South. So he was tremendously interested in this film for
was he
that
a
one
debater?
of many. No, no, he was
Did
not.
not do. Okay.
um, but speaking of that, I mean, was it the connection with Bella and then Josh, the coach, and how they were really at comfortable and ease of opening that door for you that you chose Newton South, or were there other high schools in play? Were there other high schools you were thinking or in conversation with? Um, because obviously you're going to
Actually,
spend a long time with them.
this was our first informational interview, and I have to say it was my original partner who had to leave the project 2 years into it because we were just going to do a year in the life of the team.
Right, right.
And her daughter had been a childhood friend of Bella's, and she was best friends, very good friends with the mom. So there was an inherent trust right away. And we were literally just trying to start gathering information. We didn't think we would start it for a year. And when they opened the door and we went to the first meeting, which is not in the film, we were so moved and so impressed by Bella, Ben, and Veronica and their responsibilities that they had to execute and their handling of the team and their messaging to the team and Josh's messaging. We were just sort of like, you know, maybe we don't need to look at a ton of other schools. This feels like a film here. It feels like something is a film
Right.
here. It took us a long time to get inside the debates. The debate world is very protective, and high schoolers, for obvious reasons, the parents are very protective, and the kids were more open and willing than all the parents surrounding. So we had to do a lot of hand holding in
Right, right,
that
right.
department initially.
Yeah, yeah.
And we really didn't get into a debate. We cut it though, so it seems like we got into a debate right away, but we didn't really get inside for like 9 months.
Hmm.
So
Right,
we filmed a
right.
lot of the outside, the stuff in the cafeteria, them walking to the debate, their, their anticipation before and after. So we kind of got the rhythm of it. But the way it worked is, they would announce the rounds and then everyone would leave and we would be, it was like herding cats. And the sound was a huge issue because I don't know how many filmmakers are in the audience. I can't see you, but can you have a show of hands and Richard can tell me?
I I don't think there's any filmmakers, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. So I don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
talk about all this stuff.
No, no,
This
no,
is
no. The
boring to
technical
you
stuff
guys.
is, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to have one more question and then I'll open it up. Hopefully some of you have some
Okay.
questions or comments.
Okay.
First and foremost, I was blown away at the students themselves and how intelligent and articulate and committed and dedicated to this debate team. I was not on any of those types of things in my own high school, but it just seems like a tremendous amount of effort and work and commitment. Just like you mentioned sport, it is a sport for the mind. And just like someone who was playing on a college team, baseball, basketball, football, whatever, or
Hmm.
female team, how they're committed. They're committed
Hmm.
to the practicing and the training, and but that also must have been a challenge because I'm sure some of the students came and then left. Some that you were filming maybe didn't stay with the debate team from their novice year to their JV
Correct.
year. And it's interesting how it's all sort of structured like a athletic team. You have JV and you have varsity, and
Hmm.
you move up the ranks based on your abilities and things like that. So was that a hurdle that you had to overcome in doing the film?
Right. Well, you definitely speak. I mean, the dedication, I'd never seen anything like it. And I'd been on a sports team. It's day and night. And it's also, um, the rules change, like tennis remains the same, but every month or every month, the topic changes. So the parameters of, I mean, the rules stay the same, but the parameters of the game itself change drastically. And that takes extra time. So, yes, we were you could say casting. I don't like to say that with real people, but we were trying to, I was in the trenches with the camera by myself with a young sound person, and my film partner could come once in a while, but I was trying to see who was most comfortable with the camera. And I did want to show some of the people that were struggling more, and they were less open to the camera. So, and I had to honor that because we announced very early on we weren't interested in exposing the gossipy part of debate or the fighting that goes on in debate, because there's a lot of rivalry that goes on between teams and stuff like that. We were more interested in exactly what you were talking about: how articulate they are, how committed they are, what they had to learn, their critical thinking and development, and what was the experience of girls versus boys? Why did so many girls drop out more than boys? And what was that about? And we really quickly saw like the boys would huddle from different teams and share information, and there were no girls in those huddles. So it was pretty clear that there was a lot of double standard stuff. Of course, when you have a camera inside a debate, the judge is more careful in terms of feedback. But a lot of judges give great feedback and aren't biased in many ways, but we all have our implicit biases. And I was interested in not only the male judges, but the parent judges that were constantly, bringing their own opinion about what constituted um, control and perceptual dominance, and it's plays into a stereotype, as you saw in the movie. So we were more interested in how these really articulate girls were going to navigate that territory and those stats.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for this fantastic movie. I loved every second of it. I have
Thank
one comment
you.
and one question. My comment
Sure.
is there any way to flip like the very end where you showed Oprah and Hillary Clinton, all the people who did debate in high school, like at the beginning of the movie, so that's in your head as you're watching the movie, you're seeing like how amazing debate is. And that's just my comment. But my question is, how can we fix this? What is your feeling about making this better for women going forward? I,
Right.
I mean, they're saying
Well,
about lowering their voices and not being aggressive, but lowering your voice, I mean, is that really it seems like these huddles that you're talking about with the guys in the huddle that the girls are not in, that's more how the guys are winning, not the question of the women having a higher voice than the man. I'm just wondering what
well,
your
I mean,
opinion.
I think I'll answer the second. I'll answer your question first, and then I'll talk to your comment. I really wanted to show the allyship in this film, and I think that the boys working with the girls and supporting the girls and the more presence of girls is helping already. And there is a dialogue going on within the debate world that is challenging these norms. And as is the national conversation, with Black Lives Matter and other questions about assumptions we all make, this is happening in the debate world. And there's a lot of powerful girls' organizations who are trying to bring awareness to, the judges and the people that are putting this on, you know. So that is happening and that is changing. And I've been to some debate camps and spoken there, and they said it's actually very interesting. It's changing, but it's interesting. A lot of times it changes when the girls gain confidence and they have a perception of not being shut out, but rather being powerful and winners. So it's a yin and yang thing. In order to win, you do often have to sort of adapt certain characteristics that are are accepted in the norm as perceptual dominance. But there are young women like Anika who, I mean, she adapts some of them, but she doesn't adapt all of them. And she certainly never listened to some people that said she was speaking too fast. So she's going to debate the way she wants to debate. That's a confidence issue because initially she was very scared. She wasn't winning, you know, but she won early on in her career, and Jay and her were partners, and that was a male female dynamic, and that they became best friends along with Gabby. So there was support there and there was respect there. So I think that is the real key to first identifying the problem, but second, really working on restructuring how many girls and really encouraging girls to come and bring their voice and bring their participation and dissuade them from quitting, even if they're not winning. And that's what Josh does a lot. Josh is constantly saying, I don't care if you win, I care if you do the work. You're not going to remember what team you beat, about what topic. What you're going to remember is the critical thinking skills, the ability to articulate your opinion, and the fact that there's another opinion that you need to listen to and respond to. Those are the things you're going to remember. You're going to remember the relationships you've cultivated and developed. So I think that's the key. It's not that it's not a long haul, but I think it's happening. And I think that's why a lot of people are really excited in the debate community about this film, because it's like their experience, but then they see this team that's unique, that teaches each other, that welcomes girls as well as they welcome boys. And so they're all excited about this idea of not like hiding information. The huddles changed over the course of during the 6 years. There were women included, young women. And like Dana said, there's one student says, you can't just say, oh, recognize girls. You have to be anti-sexist. You have to take opportunities to praise them and put them forth and recognize their accomplishments, where you really take time to do that. Because, you know, coaches are asking the same questions. How do I encourage my girls? And Josh's model is really setting the stage. The other thing about putting women at the front, we tried, but I was more interested in the story of the girls and building that, what are they going to do next, towards the end of the film. So it would have totally changed your experience of watching the film, and maybe you would have liked more hand-holding about that. But I think it's a much better ending. We tried it in both, and it was so much stronger in the end to say, oh my God, and not only are these girls kicking ass, they're going to be leaders like these other women that did debate. And it's more of a surprise, and it's more of like a revelation at the end of the film that what you've been watching is you've been watching this very intimate, character building, story driven film that then has a bigger, you know, it's a microcosm of the national stage, and here's the national stage it emulates. So that is why we chose that, to do it that way.
Hi, Lucia. My name's Helen. Thank you for this film. Thank you for this film. I loved it. I love the title of it. Love the title of it too.
Okay.
Couple of things I want to say. First of all, do you live in Boston? Is that why you did? Good. Okay. I loved all the schools you went to and everything because I grew up right near there. So, and my parents grew up in.
I sense a little bit of Boston accent.
Oh yeah, I got a big one. My parents grew up. I mean, they went to Cambridge, Ringe, and Latin. So you were there with the debate. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I was on sports teams my whole time in high school, And there's so many similarities, obviously, about competition and learning how to like competition, and that. But boy, do I wish I was on a debate team. You know, I wouldn't have joined up for it. I don't even know if they had them in those days. I graduated in 69. I probably wouldn't have joined up because I didn't have that kind of confidence. But I think my friend and I here were talking, I think they should require it in high school for a semester anyway. Everybody should have to debate and learn about argument, you know, how to argument in a civil way, and how to find your voice if you can. You might not find it in one semester, but there's so many things to learn from that. I was so happy that Anika won, and she was the one who said, I don't care what you think of me, basically, right? Wasn't she the one that said,
Yes.
don't tell me you don't like the way I argue. So I love that. The other thing I just want to say is halfway through the film, I said to myself, oh my God, I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful about this generation, about these students, and it really made me feel good. And there's only one part in the movie that I couldn't stand to watch, was when Trump got elected. And I said, I don't know if I can watch much more of this. It's post-traumatic stress syndrome. But anyway, thank you for the film. And I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, 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 and yes. And when we were there that night, it was really, my film partner stopped filming. She was texting everybody. I'm like, you gotta keep focused on the kids. But I think I really appreciate that. The hopefulness is something that I wanted to have in this film, because I do feel like we hear doomsday, doomsday, doomsday every day, every hour, and I know it's not the responsibility of the next generation, but it gives me hope that the next generation is just going to do things so much better than we did it. And I do believe that, you know, the whole thing about debate and not being in class in school is a big issue. And this team, for example, is called a club officially. So, you know, sports leaders like coaches and stuff, they get a certain pay. It's not a lot, but they get pay. Josh doesn't get pay. He just does it out of the goodness of his heart. And he had twins that were there 3 years before I started filming, a boy and a girl, and he watched how his daughter worked 5 times as hard as his son, and she won maybe less than his son, and so he kind of got it, and he wanted to carry it on through and make it accessible. His big thing was like, let's make this accessible, because a lot of debate teams get very elitist, very small if you want a winning debate team. So it's also shifting a mindset in the schools about what debate is. So there's a lot of work to be done there too, but I agree. I mean, I would have never debated. The debate kids were the smartest kids in the school, and I didn't have the confidence either. I think I didn't even have the work ethic. I mean, even though I was in sports and stuff, but.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Margie. You did a great job. I really enjoyed the film. And
thank you, Margie.
Like Helen, I feel very hopeful about the kids growing up today. And also, you make a real point in the film that it should be a required course, you know, in high school or college. I can't think of a better way to develop critical thinking than through debate. So you did a really good job with that, and it did make me feel much more hopeful.
Thank you.
Let's see what else.
I mean, it was Marjorie, it was an important time to be making this film. Like when I started, all eyes were on Hillary, and when Trump won, and democracy, there was questions of democracy um, being sustained. I think it is like civil discourse, and the fact that these kids have to sit there and listen and not talk
Mm-hmm.
over each other
Mm-hmm.
is pretty key and pretty essential in uh, civil
Yes, no, it was
society.
really, really good timing for you to do this
So
film. And
it was always something that was a through thread for me. Like, how does this help our democracy? How can this help with our people on different sides of the aisle? I'm still hopeful that they can cross that as long as they can start listening to each other.
Lucia, we only have time for one last question.
Okay.
And I'll give it. I think everyone's interested and curious as to where these young people are today. I mean, you showed graduation 2019, though we know that Bella graduated in 2018, I believe. So it's been about 4 years or so. So however, have you kept in touch? Is that typical of
Yes.
keeping in touch with your subjects? Are I would imagine they're all succeeding in their respected Ivy League universities. Did they continue with debate in some fashion or form in college? Maybe you
Well,
can kind of give us
interesting.
a quick, rundown.
Right. Interestingly enough, only Jay continued. None of the girls wanted to do debate. They were burnt out. They wanted to do different things. But Gabby went to Tufts, and
Yeah.
she's a political science major, and she studied in the Czech Republic abroad last year, just when the Ukraine war was starting.
Right. Right.
So she's all in. She's ACLU. She's gung ho about social causes and political issues. Um, the other, Bella actually graduated in 2016.
Oh,
So
that's early. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
she went to Brown and she went on the medical track there. And so she's like in her second year of med school doing
Okay.
pediatrics oncology. Um, and Gil went to Brown, you know that.
Mhm.
She ended up in computer science and just got a major job in New York City with a entity she interned with, and her sister Noy moved down with her. And Hannah is going to get a PhD. She just graduated Harvard with a double major, history and some biochemistry. And Anika,
Mhm.
Anika ended up at Washington U, and she's actually interestingly left politics and decided to move into finance. So I think the financial world is very exclusively men, not very many
Right.
women in the financial.
But she did say
So,
she loved math. She obviously was
oh
good at
yes,
math. Yeah,
right.
and that's good.
So,
That's a good
so,
prerequisite to finance.
and most of them came to the premiere at the
Oh, great.
IFFE. It was magical. There were 500 people there. It was wonderful. They all signed a poster for me. Gabby was the only one that couldn't make it, unfortunately, because she was
Yeah.
in the Czech Republic. But you know, I've been in touch with them. Some of the times they've been able to join me on conversations, but again, it's like herding cats with those guys.
Right, right,
But
right.
they know, and they keep in touch, and I keep in touch with them, and their parents are all thrilled, and so it's been a very good. It is the film that I've probably spent most time, except for my father, one about my
Right,
father, keeping in
right.
touch with the subjects.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's
but I
fantastic.
really appreciate your time, and thank
Oh,
you for taking the
thank you.
extra time,
Yeah,
and thank you for showing this. And
yeah. And
we,
we have
oh,
to
the
get you
good
down
news
here.
is,
Yeah, yes.
we are going to be on WGBH broadcast
Okay.
November 3rd,
Oh, I'll
Thursday,
definitely give a
November
shout
3rd.
out. Yeah.
and that's going to be in the New England region. And then we just found out it's not, well, it's looking very likely that we've got a public broadcast coming up in Women's History Month. So
Oh, fantastic.
keep your
That's
eye
great.
out. And that's
Yeah.
that would be a national broadcast. So
Right, right. PBS,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Independent Lens or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, or The World, for
Yeah.
example.
I know they have so
So
many good programs. Oh,
yes.
they just flashed on my screen that our non-paid Zoom account is almost going to run out. So perfect timing. But Lucia, you're just up the road from us, so we have to get you down here sometime in the near future. I don't know
I
how
love
often you've
Martha's
been to
Vineyard. You
Martha's.
guys
Yeah,
live in,
okay, we'll have to get
you
you
live in
down
one of
here.
the most beautiful places in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, thank you. And it was a beautiful afternoon today, also sunny. And one last note before you sign off, we did get to see Acts in the Attic. I showed that a long time ago, you know, and
Oh,
we didn't even have our film center at that point, but I showed it at another venue because
oh
our little
wow.
group's been around for about 24 years now. But in any case, good job. Keep up dealing with these great subjects. You know,
Thank
you're doing
you.
a great service, and good luck with the continued outreach with the film, you know,
Thank
to
you.
schools and things like that. So I
Thank
know
you.
there's a long trail after you make a film and
Yeah.
complete
And if
it.
you
A
guys
long
want to
trail.
follow it, you can sign up on our website. I mean, I know
I
it's,
will definitely. I will
we,
be shouting that out. I love your social
yeah,
media again with all the different photographs of former debaters, now successful women in all
right.
realms of life. I love the way your Facebook site points that out. So again, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Lucia. Thanks for
Thank you
spending
so
some time.
much.
Thanks to you too,
Okay.
baby. See you
Okay.
later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.